Well, good evening, everyone. You're listening to Red Pill 78. I am the Corruption Detector, and this is your Red Pill News. Hope everyone's having a lovely day. We've got lots of stories to go through today. First of all, patriots across the country are rising up against the draconian measures their governors are putting in place. Things like no fishing, no home improvements, no homeschooling, and the people of Lansing, Michigan are no different. We've got some footage and some pictures of what's going on with Operation Gridlock in the capital city of the state of Michigan. We've also got a tweet from Heshmat Ali, which talks about some incredible technology that apparently has been developed by scientists in Iran to test and verify whether or not someone is stricken with this sickness. We've also got some information brought to us by Methods coming out about Hunter Biden. He was supposed to have resigned from his job on a Chinese firm's board of directors. Well, it looks like he is still on the payroll. We've got a heartbreaking story coming from a broke firefighter in Indiana. He woke up to find $8.2 million in his bank account, and as quickly as it was there, it was taken away. We've also got a tweet from my friend Hive, who has put together some more dots concerning the Shiva posts we got last night. We've also got some information on President Trump taking funding from the WHO and Pelosi's response to it. We've got a hilarious story about Chuck Schumer wearing a face mask completely wrong. And finally, some information from the boards about how Trump aides put together just who exactly Anonymous was, the person who wrote that op-ed for the New York Times. All right, guys, please do sit back, relax, grab your popcorn, and we'll be right back after a brief word from our sponsor. With ongoing shortages of gas masks around the world, Preppers Peak wants to extend a special limited-time offer. The military-issue M15 gas mask. Don't miss our limited-time offer on the military gas mask. Your health and well-being are the most important, so act accordingly. Invest today, and you won't regret tomorrow. The military gas mask was tested against a variety of chemical warfare agents, including GB and HD, and third-party testing provides you assurance that this respirator is effective against chemical warfare agents. With a limited supply, only the Israeli M15 gas mask is a must in every household. Don't miss your opportunity to purchase this mask while supplies last. You can get it at www.getagasmask.com. Once again, that's www.getagasmask.com. And remember, when you support my sponsors, you support this channel. Hey guys, thanks for sticking around. First of all, today I wanted to talk about this tweet from my friend Carly Q. It shows people in Lansing, Michigan, in front of the Capitol building there. Operation Gridlock is in full effect. People are clogging the streets of the capital city of Michigan. And I just wanted to show this array of different types of flags that were being shown. Many American flags, the Don't Tread on Me flag. And then, of course, we have the Republic of Kekistan right there. That looks like it could be Pkwy Kekbar right there, but I don't know if that's actually him or not. But I just thought that was great, especially in light of the last post from our favorite Anon and frogs to destroy them. Obviously, to me, that is a personal message to Anons because Pepe the Frog is a symbol that has been used by this movement and Anons for a long time. And I just thought it was great that we had this Kekistan flag here in front of Governor Gretchen Whitmer's home office. So please keep it up, guys. There are protests taking place all across the country, and patriots are standing up for their rights. If we're going to be locked at home, there's no reason that we shouldn't be able to do a little bit of home improvement or teach our children historical accuracy and help them to keep their education going in light of the fact that I don't think any of them can go to school right now. Everything is shut down. So why are you going to take these simple pleasures away from us? Why are you going to tell us that we can't go boating or that we can't go fishing or that we can't even plant a garden? How ridiculous. Thank you very much, patriots, for keeping this up. All right, next we have a tweet sent over by my brother Methods from Heshmat Alavi. He says, no joke, Iran's senior IRGC officials say their scientists have invented a new remote device that uses a magnetic field with a bipolar virus inside that can detect the novel CV-19 within 100 meters and has a greater than 80% accuracy rate. Very, very interesting technology if it's true. Obviously, since it's coming out of Iran, it's a little bit difficult to figure it out. But you know what this this reminds me of, there is a scientist who is originally from Iran. His name is M.T. Kesh, and he invented a bunch of really far-out futuristic technologies. And some of them have been purported to have been used by the country of Iran in the past. I'm actually trying to get a show together on M.T. Kesh. Hopefully I can bring you more info about that in the future, but this is certainly something that I'm going to be keeping an eye on, because obviously if this is something that's going to be affecting us in the future, if they could have these things around and people could be diagnosed, then they can get help and get the treatment that they need so desperately. All right, well, Hunter becomes the hunted, and the hunt is still on. We have new evidence that shows that Hunter Biden is still listed as a member of that Chinese firm's board of directors. Now, in October, Hunter Biden reportedly stepped down from this Chinese-backed private equity firm that had $1.5 billion from the Chinese government. At least that's what his lawyer said. Now, his lawyer, George Messiers, said he would resign at the end of the month, back in October, from that private equity fund. And remember, the whole deal was set up, a $1.5 billion deal, during a trip to China with his father on Air Force Two. Now, this comes, of course, because President Trump has brought attention to the Biden family crime scandals, and the Biden family has made millions from using Joe Biden's name and trading on his global celebrity, if you will. Now, on Monday, the Daily Caller News Foundation discovered that Hunter is still on BHR's board of directors. Now, it was reported by the Daily Caller in November that Hunter's lawyer had stated that he had stepped down and he was no longer with them. But business records from the Chinese company, which were accessed Tuesday by the Daily Caller, show that Hunter is still listed as a member of BHR's board of directors. That's 6 months after he pledged to relinquish that position. Now, considering the fact that he's still listed, I would have to say that it probably is the case. Hunter Biden is still sitting there collecting a paycheck from the Chinese government at the same time that he's being investigated by the U.S. authorities for crimes committed and things that he and his father did together while Joe Biden was in office. Obviously, something we're going to have to keep a closer eye on, and I wouldn't be surprised if in the coming days the Daily Caller was to come up with some new disclosures. All right, now this one I saw shared by Kate Awakening. This guy on the screen right here is a volunteer firefighter. He's apparently down on his luck. He's been waiting for his stimulus check, and he went into the bank this morning and checked at the ATM, and he had $8.2 million in his bank account. Now, he was able to take money out a couple of times. He was only expecting the $1,700 stimulus check, but you can see from the receipt here, $8.2 million was there. Now, he went back after he told a couple of his buddies. He got his balance again, and it still said $8.2 million, but it didn't take long for it to show his correct bank account balance. Now, he spoke to WGN. He did a short interview. I'm going to leave the link in the description below. That is such a heartbreaking thing to see. If I woke up to find $8.2 million, I think I would probably try to take out more than $200. But then if they were to give it to me, I would probably end up having to pay it back. So it's a good thing he did the right thing. All right, so yesterday we got a post from our favorite Anon, which was a Twitter drop from the guy who runs the WHO. And in the photo, you're going to see it here in a second, there was an image of a statue which was of Shiva. Now here, this is video from CERN from several years ago, where there was a strange ritual that was done late at night. People came out wearing these robes, and they performed a mock human deletion, we'll call it. But it's very weird. They congregate around the statue of Shiva. They're wearing these robes, and, they do their thing with a person, and supposedly it was fake. Now, why would they be doing this? Obviously, we've been told numerous times symbolism will be their downfall. Let's go look at the tweet from Dr. Tedros. All right, so here is the tweet. In the tweet, it's from January of 2019. He's praising China and their role in the WHO. We can see the statue of Shiva right there at the head of the table. Kind of a strange thing, I thought, and obviously I think that they're pointing to this for a specific reason. But it kind of shows that among the elite and the scientific organizations, there is something about Shiva that they have, and I don't know what it is. But my friend Hive found the cover of a Newsweek issue from a couple years ago, and it ties into these two instances, and it's kind of weird. And he says, connecting the dots further, Renegade in the kill box. Symbolism will be their downfall. And here you can see this is Shiva on the right, and this is Barry on the left, and it says God of all things. And he is positioned like Shiva with the multiple arms, juggling all kinds of different things. It just once again points to their maybe obsession with the idea of Shiva. Now, it means different things to different people, but I remember it best from the Indiana Jones movie, The Temple of Doom. What about you guys? Now, also along in that post is an Encyclopedia Britannica entry on Shiva. It's a Hindu deity, and apparently in Hinduism, Shivaites worship this as their supreme god. Now, Shiva is represented in many forms, and it says they are both the great ascetic and the master of fertility, and also the master of both poison and medicine. But what this reminded me most of was the famous quote from Dr. Robert Oppenheimer, the creator of atomic weaponry. Let's go ahead and look at this short clip of Oppenheimer talking about the experience of watching the very first atomic weapon detonate out in the New Mexico desert.
We knew the world would not be the same. Few people laughed. Few people cried. Most people were silent. I remembered the line from the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita. Vishnu is trying to persuade the prince that he should do his duty, and to impress him takes on his multi-armed form and says, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." I suppose we all thought that one way or another.
Now, Oppenheimer named Vishnu, which is a different deity in the Hindu faith, but I just couldn't help but notice the comparison, because it seems that the elites of the world are not interested so much in the saving of this planet or humanity, but rather in the destruction of it, so that they can keep this world for themselves and act out whatever earthly delights they themselves want to engage in. But it just made me wonder if perhaps the reason these scientific organizations are calling and paying homage to these particular deities in the Hindu faith, if it means that they themselves are interested in the destruction of humanity. Now, speaking of the WHO, that leads us directly into this story, because President Trump announced yesterday that the U.S. is ending all funding of the WHO, and Nancy Pelosi is extremely upset. She has said that President Trump cutting off the funding to the WHO is illegal and vows that it will be swiftly challenged. Now, earlier today, she said that President Trump's decision to halt funding to the WHO was an illegal act, and on Tuesday, he announced he's instructing his administration to halt all U.S. funding while a review is concluded. He said, "We have deep concerns whether America's generosity has been put to the best use possible." And U.S. lawmakers last week called for Dr. Tedros to resign for deceiving the world by allowing China to cover up the truth about CV-19. Now, a few weeks ago, remember the Director General of the WHO, Tedros, he told an audience that the world was slow to react to CV-19. Well, maybe that's because he downplayed the deadliness of this sickness way back in January. He claimed that CV-19 could not be spread by human-to-human contact, and we now know that to be patently false. Now, Pelosi has remained silent as American Christians are threatened and fined for attending Easter services, but she has spoken up about Trump's decision to halt funding to this corrupt international organization, calling it illegal. Well, I certainly applaud President Trump in his decision to end the funding for the WHO. They clearly don't have the best interest of people in mind. It seems to me that the way they acted and the way that they kind of rallied the troops around this one particular issue was woefully unprepared, and the entire storyline they were going by was simply meant to discredit President Trump and try to weaken America. And what can you expect when they have such a deep connection to one of America's most fearsome global competitors? Now, a bit of a laugh here from Greg Jarrett. Chuck Schumer was out bragging about the fact that he's been wearing a mask recently, and just wanted to point it out that you're doing it wrong, Chuck. Look, his nose is outside of the mask. The whole point is to make sure that when you're breathing, you don't expel the liquid, which is going to go ahead and get other people sick, and that you're also not going to inhale the droplets that other people are breathing out. So, Chuck, you need to get a lesson in wearing an N95 mask. And finally, a notable from the board, how Trump aides outed anonymous anti-Trump insider who wrote in the New York Times, alleged to be former Deputy National Security Advisor Victoria Coates. Now, we've talked about Victoria here on the program, but here's the post. Here's anonymous Trump aides say, and here's how they outed her. Ever since a senior official in the Trump administration penned an anonymous 2018 New York Times column attacking President Trump as unfit for office, Washington has been engrossed in a high-stakes whodunit. After an exhaustive investigation, the White House believes it's cracked the case, identifying Trump's turncoat as his former Deputy National Security Advisor Victoria Coates. Now, that's according to people familiar with the internal probe. Now, rather than fire Coates, the White House has quietly transferred her to the Department of Energy, where she awaits special assignment in Saudi Arabia. Now, Trump effectively demoted Coates just 4 months after promoting her last fall to the number 2 spot on his National Security Council. The move was made amid a whisper campaign started in January that identified Coates as anonymous, the person who wrote that op-ed, and the subsequent book, a warning claiming to be part of a cabal of fellow Republicans resisting Trump and his policies from inside the administration. Now, this is from a Real Clear Investigations article. All right, and here is the evidence showing that Coates was anonymous. First of all, computer textual analyses revealing strikingly similar language, turns of phrase, and historical references by both Coates and Anonymous. First-hand accounts by Anonymous of events witnessed only by Coates and a small number of others, the latter of whom were ruled out as suspects. Also, hawkish foreign policy views held by Anonymous, many of which have been rejected by Trump. The fact that Coates and Anonymous share a high-profile Western literary agent with an author roster of disaffected ex-Trump officials. Also, Coates' long history of writing anonymously. And finally, personal details revealed by Anonymous that are consistent with Coates' biography. Well, good job to everybody in the White House who helped to out Anonymous, a.k.a. Victoria Coates. And the only thing that I'm concerned about is that President Trump hasn't gotten rid of her altogether. But I have to trust the president. He knows what he's doing, and if he's moved her over to a different department, I'm sure he's got plans for her. All right, guys, well, that's all I have for you today. I want to thank everyone for joining me. As always, this has been Red Pill 78. I am the Corruption Detector, and this was your Red Pill News. Good luck, everyone, and God bless. Hey guys, one more thing. It's Red Pill. I just want to say thank you once again to everybody that has helped to support the channel. If you'd like to get involved, you can go ahead and check the show notes in the pinned comment and the description. There's always good information in there. I've got a couple of backup channels. I ask that you go ahead and subscribe to them because if anything does happen here, I will start publishing there. And if you want things like merchandise or anything else, there is a bunch of information that you can find right below this video. All right, guys, thank you very much, and I'll see you tomorrow.